Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Practical Pet Chat. Thanks for joining Lorin and I. We know you've got a lot to do in your busy, busy days, so we appreciate a few minutes with you. Lorin, today we're going to talk about a question you and I are getting increasingly, which is why we do all these, right? I guess I say that quite often. We increasingly get these, but I'm increasingly hearing from folks, how often do I need to go to the vet these days? And what should I be going to the vet for? And I'm like, whoa, calm down. Let's take this step by step. So, how do you answer that? And then I'll jump in after.
So I'm going to put a disclaimer out there first that no one knows anybody else's dog or cat or any other animal that you have like you do.
I love
So
it.
if you think you need to go to the vet, then go to the vet. Disclaimer aside, I'm going to tell you, I think people go to the vet too often. I think that they go for things they that doesn't necessarily require a vet. They panic. Their kid doesn't eat breakfast. Oh my God. And next thing you know, well, they used to call me and say, should I go? She didn't eat breakfast. I'm like, okay, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. How is she acting? Well, she seems fine. Is she playing? Well, yeah, or I'd get somebody who would say no, and I go, well, does she normally play? Well, no. Okay. So she's acting normally, and I get it. We adore them. They're everything. But I think we overreact and we panic because so many times we don't really understand those little aliens that we give our hearts to. So I really think that, so I'll answer for myself. I go to the vet once to twice a year. I try to do it twice a year for blood work, no matter what. I want to know what the blood work says for my kids, just a standard blood test, read all the values and levels so I can get a heads up to anything I might not see. I, for anything else, bleeding, broken, breathing. If it's bleeding, something's broken, there's issues with breathing, 100% needs a vet. Doesn't need to even be thought about. Outside of that, you need to monitor. You need to be watchful. You need to be dialed in. You need to, take a look at what's happening. What is your kid's normal behavior? Is this outside of the normal? How long has it been outside of the normal? What are the signs that you're seeing? If you have if a little bit of time corrects it, kids off their feed, their stomach's upset, whatever, you skip a meal, by the next meal, they're okay, or by the next day, they're okay, you're probably fine. If not, then you have to do a full assessment. I mean, everything is about assessing, right? Because let's face it, when you go to the vet, what are they going to do? They're going to run blood tests. And they're going to ask you all those same questions. What are you seeing? How are they acting? What's their potty look like? What's their stool look like? When's the last time they had a bowel movement? Are they urinating normally? Have they been throwing up repeatedly? Those are all things that you can see and assess. If you need to be able to tell those things to the vet, if those things are going on and they give you serious cause for concern because the kid is listless, off in a corner, doesn't want to engage, doesn't want to come when called, doesn't want to be held, picked up, those are all reasons to go to the vet. But just having an upset tummy, maybe yakking one time, after drinking a lot of water, they yak up some water. For me, that's a wait and see.
Yeah. No, I love that you hit that because that is the thing that, oh my gosh, something's different. And I never want to shame anybody into noticing something's different because I love that. I'm glad that
Right.
you identified something is different that tells me you're tuned in. Love that. But there is that, like, okay, now let's, see. I love the, broken, bleeding, breathing, get going. Like, don't let's not even discuss that. Please don't take the time to call me, text me. Just get going, get moving. Um, Same thing too is it's the same whether it's human kids, pet kids. If you're really amped up and worried about something, that will transfer to them.
Absolutely.
And there are times, hey, sometimes we're just all tired. Sometimes the heat is oppressive, but they're not, having a reaction that warrants elevating to a vet. Let's get to a cool area. Let's get some extra water in there. Let's breathe, relax, have some grace for yourself, be calm in the moment. If you're calm, your pet's calm. But I mean, I go back to the videos that we've all seen where all of a sudden the pet owner has a broken leg and is on crutches and gimping around, and then the dog is
I've
mimicking
seen
that.
those.
Yeah, and it's like, if you don't think they feed off of us and our energy, you are wrong. They 100% do, which is one of the first things I say when those that do get in touch with me will be like, "Oh, Rob, just real quick." I'll be like, "Okay, calm
Take a
down."
deep breath. Yep.
First thing is you got to relax yourself because they feed off of you. And now let's see. I love your thing too. Okay, let's give it a little bit more time. If we're unsure, that tells us we probably need to give it a little bit more time. Certainly be aware of it. But now let's know what's going on. I also love that you talk about be prepared because just rushing to the vet, they're going to ask you these questions. So if you can't answer, what's going on during the day, what's different, why is it different, why is it concerning to you, then you got to take a moment, get that all put together and say, okay, these are the reasons why. And then at the end of it, if you just can't get past it, okay, I guess you got to go. You know,
Well,
that's
because
your
if you can't answer the questions, you better bring a credit card with a zero balance because the vet has to get to why. And that
exactly
means a bunch of tests and things like that. So you need to, they can't speak, the animals can't speak. So you have to be able to say, her tummy's making noises. That's not a big deal, but she's been really listless. She doesn't react normally. I don't see her drinking water. Her gums are pale. She just doesn't seem right to me.
right,
Okay, that gives the vet some guidance. They don't have a crystal ball somewhere. They need your help to weigh in on it. But I can't count the numbers of times that people have reached out to me and said, do you think I need to go? And I'm like, okay, again, no one knows your animal like you do. If you think you need to go, then go. These are the things that I would look for if it were mine. These people
right,
go. And the text messages or calls that I get of the dog as they're pulling into the emergency room parking lot going, where are we? Are we somewhere fun? Is this a park?
right.
They're all excited. And the people are like, really? I thought you were on death's door. No, I just didn't feel good for a little bit. But where are we at now?
Right.
And it's happened to us. I mean, it's happened. My husband will say, so pulled into the parking lot, and all of a sudden she's all excited, her tail's wagging. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, bring her home.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No, and I think that's that element too is by some of the things that elevate their energy, right? If you're not getting the responses there, okay, that's another point of concern, right? Um, there are certain things that you can do with your pets. I love that you say this, and we can't say it enough. You know your pets the best. You also know their, idiosyncrasies and the intricacies of what's going on, what the dynamic is. There may be something in the trees in your yard that is pissing them off that day. And they're just going to grumble on it. There are times where, Bella in particular, Sugar used to do this to me. She'll just stare at a spot. And if I don't acknowledge it, she just, gets down, puts her head in her hands, and I'm like, oh, if I didn't know, I would think she's not feeling herself today. But she wants me to go outside. She wants to acknowledge there's something in the tree that's annoying the heck out of her. So I'll ask all the time, what do you want me to see? Let's go. We walk out there. Okay, she does her, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I see it. I don't see it. I don't know what it is, but that's okay. Your imaginary annoyance, I've acknowledged. and then she's back running around the neighborhood. You know, um, it's I shouldn't say the neighborhood, but in the yard. And so the whole thing is now if she didn't get up and she just laid there and was lethargic, now I'm elevating and I'm going up that scale of concern. Okay,
Calmly.
yeah, what else didn't happen today? Did she eat her food the same way? Did she this? Did she that? Because let's be blunt, we're observing constantly, but we can miss something. I remember Zoe got stung by something. I had no idea until 20 minutes afterwards, and it's starting to swell, and I'm like, that's not normal. We're out. Were there things I could have done at home that they did at the vet's office? Absolutely.
Sure.
But I wasn't sure. So I get it. And I love that you acknowledge, like, these are our babies, and because they can't communicate what just happened, and we can't say, rub some dirt on that and keep going, you got to default to, okay, I'm going to be a little hyper vigilant. I don't want to be hyper reactive. And that's that different point of there are plenty of times where folks will be like, oh my God, so and so got a, little tiny piece of, I don't know, name your favorite, it's going to poison my pet myth. And I'd be like, your dog is like 120 pounds. Do you know how much of that they'd have to eat to really
Right.
be sick from that? I think you're going to be okay. So watch them. If you see something, sure. I never want to minimize it. But because you're wrapping up to such an extreme, you're throwing off the energy, and that throws off the system as well. And sometimes it's just all about, as you said earlier, just being calm. Let's go through this. Doesn't mean you're neglecting. Have grace for yourself. You're doing the best you can. Okay. They know that. They're looking to you
Right.
and they're saying, I'm going to be okay. And if you're going, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, you're adding to the stress and the structure breakdown of what normally happens in their day. So have a little bit more grace for yourself. Beyond that, you know, I take, my pets to the vet typically, no matter what, even if everything's going great, at least twice a year. I just want to be going in, making sure I may not see something. To me, Bella is a perfect being, and I may not see something. I may not see potential dangers. I may not think about it. I thought her double dew claws were cute as can be until, I started to see her snagging them. And I remembered that the vet had told me, hey, keep in mind with double dew claws. Oh, okay. So there is value. And let's be honest, if she's a little portly, that's okay. That makes her more endearing to me, right? But that has physical ramifications that your vet is going to say, hey, how many treats are you adding to that normal feeding routine? Um, so it is important to have those extra eyes. And that's also why having a groomer you can trust and so many other folks in that, pet care team assemble. My daughter will love that. The rest of you I know are annoyed with that. But having those extra eyeballs that come in and give you feedback can be really important and really make a difference in the health of your pet. But going every single week or every month, you know, and not having something significant going on should also be a sign that, hey, maybe you're overdoing it a little bit. There's other reasons to go visit the vet or drive by. I'm happy to hear, Lauren, that your dogs get all happy when they see the vet.
Because they
Um,
don't go.
yeah. Oh, there you go. Belle, on the other hand, is like, no, I know
No,
what
my
this.
dogs don't go to the vet, so they're like, "Great, where are we? Is this Home
Yeah.
Goods? Are we going shopping?"
So, I love that. Oh my
That's
gosh.
their favorite store.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that honestly I think, especially because it's so expensive owning an animal these days, um, if people would just do as you say, grant themselves a little grace, take a breath, and take a look at the situation as a whole. It may not need a vet. I used to have clients in my store that would call me and say, "Oh, good, you're in." And I'd be like, yep, I'm here. Can I bring so and so by? And I'm like, sure, we're open. And they would go, no, I just want to be sure you were there because I can't tell. I can't tell if she's feeling well. Okay, bring her by. I was their barometer because they would wiggle and be so happy and run to me and be so excited to see me that, okay, they must be okay,
Yeah.
and I was free. So, there was no charge there and they could really tell if the dog was working mom and, that sort of thing. But I'd have them come in, tell me what you saw, and let's walk through it together. And, I'm not a vet. If you think you need to go to a vet, then you should do that. But she looks okay to me as I'm trying to keep her from, smothering my face with kisses and so I can get a word out edgewise. But yeah, I'm the same as you.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too. It's a little bit off topic, but since we're talking about vets and frequent visits, I'm seeing this unique trend where different vet offices are now offering uh, care packages, and where you can come in for X amount of visits throughout the year, X amount of vaccines, X amount of this, X amount of that, and that's a new development. And I wonder if it has anything to do with the amount of times people are going in, don't actually need to have gone in, and then are like, well, gosh, this is so expensive. And so maybe that it's interesting. As we were talking, I was like, oh, maybe that's why I'm seeing these things come up. And I
Just
do get a lot of folks that are sending these to me going, hey, do you think this is a good deal? And I'm like, well, how often do you go to the vet? I don't know.
So is it like a subscription model type
Yeah, it's
thing?
like a subscription model.
Yeah, yeah, that's why the trend. Personally, I hate that, but I get it. Because I think it encourages people and it opens the opportunity for upselling, which I never want to see in a
Sure.
vet's office,
Yeah, yeah,
but let's be real, it happens. But yeah, I don't love that idea.
yeah. No, but I think our topic today may be part of what's feeding that
It could
side
be, sure,
of the development because, oh, hey, if they're going to come in, let's, let's take some of that stigma out as well, right?
sure.
Uh, so it's an interesting concept. I'm with you though. I don't see the need for it, the value personally. But for those who are doing it, let us know. Send us an email, practicalpetchat@gmail.com. What are you seeing? What are the new things? I heard, and one of my friends sent me a picture. They walked in and their vet office had transformed the entire front area into almost a store. And so I get it. The veterinarian offices are adapting, evolving, changing. Um, but in this instance, it really threw off that person who sent it to me. Is like, I don't know why they thought this would make it a better environment, but I feel like I'm sitting in the middle of a pet store now.
Upselling.
Yeah, and that was actually my response was
Yeah.
additional revenues, and um, that's a tough balance. That's a tough balance out there for all the veterinarians. I get it. I understand the need, the questions, the drive, but that's still a tough go of it. I don't want to sit in the store aisle, especially with Bella. Oh, and let me bring this up too, because I know I called you after this one. I recently took Belle um, to a veterinarian appointment, and I'm not going to say the lady's name or the dog's name, but she walked in, and the dog was not only off leash, but was walking around
Oh,
to everybody's pets. And I put my hand down. Now, Belle, you know, on a leash, Bella is really good, loves a lot of dogs. And I knew this dog was going to do it, the dog, because I could see from the other interactions, and everybody's dog was, reacting differently. And I'm like, I just know I'm the dog guy. And this dog is going to make its way over, jump up, and want to sit in my lap. And that's when Belle is going to lose her shit. And literally, I put my hand down to just keep them apart. And the dog, climbing up my arm to, oh, hey, I'm a lap dog. Your dog isn't. You have a free lap. And, I said to her, I was like, hey, I don't know how she's going to react. I'd really, if she, can you put her on the, don't tell me how to handle my dog, blah, blah, blah. And the second the dog got its, paws up to my shoulder, all of a sudden Belle went, get your hands off of my parent mode. And bark, 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 jump back. And this lady's yelling at my dog and me for not controlling my dog. My dog's on leash, lady. So we've had the discussion before, but these people, and it took every piece of patience I have. And if you ask certain people in my life, I don't have a lot of patience, but in this moment, I had grace. Um, I wanted to just scream. This is literally the worst possible environment you could have an off leash animal because some of these
So
animals
much
in here
stress.
are sick, they're stressed, they're in a different environment
They're
that's
in
throwing off.
pain.
Yeah, I mean, and this lady wanted to justify and just keep. Thank goodness I go to a really good vet. They were around the counter already as this was going on with one of their leashes, and they're like, "We have a policy: all animals must be on leash. You can borrow our leash." And
Also
I
the
knew,
law.
yeah, and I was just like, "Phew, lady, you want to scream at me?"
So
And
for the record, when Rob called me about this, he was not this calm. He was
I was not.
hot. He was hot. I mean, I could feel the 120 degrees coming through the phone, which is why we're friends, because we can do that. But he was hot and it was completely wrong. And all I could think about was all these stressed four-legged kids that were like, I got to deal with this too. I'm sitting here
Yeah.
shaking. I don't feel good. And I got to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, and it's why too I go to different vets because I have different needs for Bella. And you and I have talked about that another. And I will tell you, I was encouraged because if the vet staff did not react that way, um, I would not be going back. And that would be sad because I like this vet. Um, but yeah, I was hot because one thing goes wrong. And now
Oh,
I've
it's
got an
ugly.
issue. That person's pet has an issue, all because this person thinks and she had no control over that dog. Now, the dog was cute as can be. I had no issue with the dog. In fact, once they took Bella back because they immediately bumped her up the charts and she was being
Oh,
seen
that
right
was
away.
handy.
Yeah, I was fine with the dog, and the lady just to drive it home sat right next to me. So I had to put Bella on the other side of me and Bell's
Oh, that's
fine. Bell,
funny.
yeah. Oh man. But the minute Bella was being addressed, and they were, and they're walking away, I made sure, I let that dog know my energy. They had to sense that energy. You're good. You're adorable. You be you. Please carry your own leash if you have to, because apparently the owner doesn't understand that. And then I got back with Belle right away, and we're in the
The,
room, and they were like,
the
"Hey, thanks
the
for handling
problem
it that
is
way."
the problem is your perception of the dog being cute and everything else isn't necessarily the other dog's
And
perceptions of that
yeah,
dog. You know,
yeah, and
that
to your
dog is in
point,
their face and on their parent and, in their space. And
yeah,
this is complete ignorance on the part of the owner who just thinks, I have the cutest dog on the planet. She doesn't, I do. But, it's
I
like,
hate
come
to
on.
disappoint both of you, but I do.
But,
And wait, wait,
and we're
I hear
all
the audience
right, and
all
we're all
screaming out.
right.
We do.
Yes. But, it's like it doesn't matter. In that particular, example of which I could also relate to 1,000 of them. It's not about what you think, it's about what the other dogs think. And I've seen it go ugly in a snap.
Oh, totally.
I mean, blood ugly. Blood
Oh,
was drawn, threats were made, lawsuits happened, and it was like, really? How about a no off leash policy
yeah.
when you're in a
It,
business?
it, and that's the thing about it. As you know, I because you get asked this question, I get asked this question a lot too. Is how do I pick the best vet? Now you and I have talked about it. Have conversations, make sure they meet your ideology and all that. But one of the most basic ones that I tell people all the time is just like picking your own family doctor. Go when you're not sick, when you're not stressed, go by that place and
Right.
just walk through. If you wouldn't want to be there with your pet when everything is fine and calm, that cannot be your choice. And the simplest starting point for any business is got to be on leash. It's the only safe way. It is,
Right.
it is, no matter how
Well,
perfect
and the
our pets
staff
are.
can't be afraid to enforce that. I dealt with that in a couple of pet stores where staff just didn't want to tell customers, oh, your dog can't be
Agree.
in here, not
Yeah,
on a
I,
leash. And I'm like, why don't you want to tell them?
yeah,
Well, it just, they get mad and it's like, it isn't about them.
yeah.
Well, I don't want to lose a customer. Okay, it's not a customer we're going to keep if this is an issue, because this is about the animals.
Right.
And, it's an affront in some cases.
Well,
And
and that's
again,
what
whether
made
it's
this.
meant to be or not, it's about perception of the animal.
Well, and not only that, but here's the other thing too, right? Something spooks that dog, in
Yeah.
particular in the situation, as they're walking out the front door. I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, there's a parking lot right there. Like one thing spooks this dog. Why take that risk? Ooh, I
Right.
just anyway. All right, we better end this one. Hey, folks,
Okay.
I'm sure you've had similar situations, and if you haven't, still send us an email, practicalpetchat@gmail.com. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you sharing, asking us the questions, sending the questions. The reason we do these episodes is to share with you what Lauren and I think and feel, and occasionally when Rob is pushed to the brink and has to call therapist Lauren. So thanks again for joining us here on Practical Pet Chat.
Bye, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2025 Practical Pet Chat, all rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.